Bom dia a todos. Bem-vindos a esta sessão webinar dedicada ao mercado da Polónia e, em particular, ao setor dos moldes e do automóvel. Este é mais um evento da AICEP neste formato webinar, nesta conjuntura tão difícil em que estamos, e eu queria-vos primeiro assinalar que esta é uma aposta que a AICEP vai continuar a fazer e vai continuar a organizar webinars de mercado ou sobre setores ao longo das próximas semanas e, portanto, queria chamar a vossa atenção para este facto, para que estivessem atentos quer ao nosso site, quer também às redes sociais da AICEP, quer aos vossos gestores de cliente, para que possam acompanhar aquilo que vamos desenvolver nas próximas semanas, mas esta aposta é uma aposta para continuar. Queria também vos dizer que, além dos webinars de mercado e dos webinars setoriais que vamos continuar a organizar para os mais variados mercados nas próximas semanas, também o e-commerce vai continuar a ser uma área fundamental na nossa ação. Portanto, contamos a organizar vários eventos sobre vários mercados também nas próximas semanas, dedicados à área do e-commerce ou a setores específicos dentro do e-commerce. Portanto, quer a área do B2B, quer a área do B2C, vai ser alvo da nossa ação. Relativamente à sessão de hoje, nós temos aqui um painel muito amplo, com vários especialistas na área polacos. De facto, vai ser uma sessão muito intensa e queria chamar a vossa atenção para o facto de ser muito importante terem os vossos microfones ligados, assim como as vossas câmaras, durante a sessão, e chamar-vos a atenção para que todas as questões que tiverem podem ser colocadas no chat que está à vossa disposição. Todas as questões, também seria útil que fossem indicados os nomes dos oradores a quem querem perguntar, o que quer que seja, para nós podermos depois selecionar as questões e colocá-las aos nossos convidados. Por último, queria também chamar a vossa atenção para o facto de algumas questões nós vamos selecionar. Se houver muitas questões, provavelmente não teremos tempo para responder a todas, mas que todas as questões poderão ser respondidas posteriormente, ou através da nossa delegação em Varsóvia, ou através dos oradores diretamente. E agora, também vos queria, eu penso que já sabiam, mas também vos digo que a sessão vai ser em inglês e, portanto, eu agora vou mudar para inglês para começar, então, a sessão oficialmente. Muito obrigado. Well, welcome all. Now I will start in English and I will go directly to thank you very much for being here, to our invitees. And then I will start by our colleague in Warsaw, Pedro Leão. They will present the Polish market. Pedro, the floor is yours.
Good morning to all the participants in this webinar. Thank you for joining. Since 18 March, the Polish government is introducing programs to protect the labor market and support financial liquidity of the companies and entrepreneurs. They call it the Anti-Crisis Shield. Subsidies for employee remuneration costs and reduction on social security contributions for the enterprises are also included.
A gente vai tirar aqui coisa.
This crisis has hit the Polish economy on two levels. The closure of the Chinese economy in January, raw materials and components produced and used in most products manufactured in Poland. Most of the industrial plants in Poland continued to operate during the lockdown, but faced staff shortages, as some workers had to stay at home to self-isolate and to take care of children because schools closed. The lockdown forced shops, shopping centers, and leisure industries to close. Consumers had to stay at home, and we are now facing a big change in consumer behavior. Since 4 May, the unfreezing of the economy involved the reopening of the shops, restaurants, and museums, and we are now returning to a more normal life. Poland's GDP was expected to grow around 3.5% this year, 2020, but now government estimates it will shrink to minus 3.4%. Government deficit is expected to reach around 8.5% of the GDP. Although these weak economies are commenting that the recession in Poland may be smaller than expected. So here we have some good news. But of course, debts incurred now will have to be paid back in the future in Poland and in like most of the European countries. So Polish currency, the zloty, may face the risk of depreciation. Before the pandemic, the exchange rate was in average 4.23 zlotys per 1 euro and is now around 4.5 zlotys for 1 euro. So for Portuguese companies that are doing business with Polish companies, I recommend to pay attention of the exchange rate of the Polish zloty. 50% of the Polish are anxious of losing their jobs, and employment rate is growing and may grow till circa 10%. So the situation is like in many other countries in the Eurozone. So concerning the customers of the Portuguese molding industry, so the city of Bigados and surroundings is where there is a greater concentration of companies manufacturing molds in Poland. In 2018, Poland imported 320 million euros of molds. China, with a market share of 24%, was the main supplier, and Portugal was the seventh exporter to Poland, exporting around 13 million euros with a market share of 4%. The automotive industry is the main customer to our mold companies, representing around 82% of our exports in 2018. The packaging industry has been growing and represents nowadays around 8%. Here we can see which are our main customers. So our main market is Spain with 20% of the share, and Poland is the fourth largest customer in Portugal with a share of 7% of Portuguese mold exports. So Poland is performing quite well as client of Portugal in what concerns mold exports. I wish you successful contacts between our countries and companies, and feel free to contact us at our office in Warsaw, where we have a team of 6 people. We follow with another presentation. So Mr. Rafał Orłowski is partner and chief editor of the company Automotive Suppliers.pl, which is an analytical and consulting company whose main field of competence is the automotive industry in Poland. They publish a portal and a quarterly magazine and organize the event Automotive CE Days in Poland. He will present Polish automotive industry today. So Mr. Orłowski, the stage is yours, please.
Good morning, everybody. Dear students, I would like to present in the next few minutes information about automotive industry in Poland. So, the automotive industry is one of the 2 most important production sectors in our country. The first is the food industry, with the share about the 17%. The automotive industry is the second one, with the share about 13%. But some companies classified in the other sectors as the metal, rubber, or the plastic products are also suppliers for the automotive industry. One moment. Okay. The vehicle production sector among the other Central Eastern Europe countries where we are fourth after the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Hungary. The production of the vehicles, car, and the vans in Poland is based on the four plants. Two of them are owned by Volkswagen Poznań and Volkswagen in Września. One by FCA in Tychy, and the last one by PSA in Gliwice. This year, the production of the new generation Volkswagen Caddy is being commenced in the plant in Poznań, but the biggest changes are taking place in Gliwice, where the commercial vehicles factory is under construction. Unfortunately, we have any data about new models for the FCA plant in Tychy. The core business of the plant in CE countries is export, of course. We are the second largest exporters after the Czech Republic. In last year, the export from Poland amounted about nearly 28 billion euro. It is the new record for our country. Our main partner is Germany, with the share about 30%. In contrast to the other CE countries, parts and accessories have the largest share in export. It is nearly about 36% of the total. A few words about the latest investment projects. As I mentioned it, the PSA Group factory is under construction in the Gliwice. Commercial vehicles of the Peugeot and Citroën branches are to be manufactured there from the beginning of the late next year. The maximum capacity is about 100,000 cars per year. The engine segment is also being strongly developed in our country. You can see the one greenfield plant, the Daimler's plant in Jawor in Lower Silesia. This plant began producing engine in the last month of the last year. But it is not the only investment in engine segment. New projects are also being implemented in both plants of the Toyota and PSA plant in the Tychy. Thanks to the recent investment in Poland, working the 6 plants of the engines and their production of the petrol engines is growing in our country. Production of the electromobility segment that is also being developed in our country. In Central Eastern Europe countries, such projects are being implemented mainly in our country and the Hungary. We have 3 plants of the lithium-ion battery in Poland. The LG Chem plant is the largest. By the middle 2020, Daimler will also start production batteries in Jawor in Lower Silesia. The production of the components for the batteries is also more diverse. Those include components such the electrolyte, calcium, the plant in under construction, cathodes. It is the project of the Unimore plant in Nysa. Wires like the LS cable, housing like the NARA, or many others. So far, such investments are being implemented. The COVID-19 has no impact on them at the present. So, the short summary about our industry. The last year was a record year for the automotive industry in Poland. We have new records in the salt production, in employment, export of the parts. In this year, COVID-19 epidemic is most critical factor for the condition of the industry in Poland and the other country in European Union. The vehicle engine in parts manufacture has been affected by the shutdown. Now only the few factors in Poland restarted production for the MAN bus in Starachowice in the second part of the April. Also the both plants of the Volkswagen in Poznań and Września. Also the engine factories, both Toyota, Mercedes, and Opel in the last days. Unfortunately, other vehicle plants, FCA Poland and Opel manufacturing Poland in Gliwice, have not resumed production yet. But in the last my words, then I can conclude what the new situation for the automotive industry may be the basic for the some tier 1 suppliers to look for the new suppliers in Europe instead to China, including tool shop that produce, for example, the injection molds. Thank you very much for attention.
Thank you, Mr. Orłowski. Now we'll have Mr. Michał Lesiuk. He is a partner and leader of Ernst & Young Automotive Industry Advisory Team, and he will present expected trends in the Polish automotive industry. So the stage is yours, Mr. Lesiuk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pedro. Good morning, everybody. So this is Michał Lesiuk, EY Poland. I would like to spend with you a couple of minutes on discussing a kind of analysis that we have prepared, or as a matter of fact, a company named Parthenon that is part of UI Society has prepared based on a number of discussions with CEOs and CFOs of some of the automotive companies worldwide. And this survey is also something that was in particular focused on China, as the country that is perhaps a country that we should look to in order to understand on what might happen with the automotive industry. Although the findings of this survey, of this discussion, is something that was rather dedicated to China, I think that the lessons learned might be also something that we should look through in Poland. Yes, so I would say that this is the trend that we should also see in Poland. Yeah, but starting with a brief recap on what are the key challenges that all the industries, but the automotive industry in Poland is facing or has faced. But we should take into account that unfortunately the crisis that was in March and April, the health crisis might also come back in autumn, as some of the experts say. So I think that we should always take into account the lessons learned on what has happened now and how we should react on that. Yeah. So just shortly, of course, one of the primary focuses should be on the safety of our workers. So the primary goal for all the plants today is to organize the working protocols in a way that would keep the workers safely, just not to be forced to really suffer from the lockdown in case the health crisis comes back. Secondly, for the back office workers, obviously we need to really well plan the remote work whenever possible with the use of infrastructure and technology. Thirdly, of course, what has happened in Poland was a really sharp decline in demand for mobility. Yeah. Some problem.
We cannot hear you very well.
Okay. Do you hear me now? Hello, hello.
Yes. Now we are hearing you.
Yep. Okay. So obviously what has happened, people when staying at home, of course, do not require mobility. So the demand for mobility is much lower. Although the health crisis would also have some positive demand impulses, but I shall touch on that later on. Fourthly, the current standard sales channels with the logic of buying a car when visiting physically the dealer is something that obviously doesn't work in the lockdown times. So this is something that gives additional advantage to the companies, to the businesses that already have switched to online sales as well. Yeah. But fourthly, the fifth factor that we need to take into account is the analysis of the supply chain. Obviously, the logic of building supply chains, especially in automotive, was always focused on efficiency. But the current crisis, especially the loopholes, especially the disruptions in deliveries from China, this is something that should be a lesson learned as regards the construction of the supply chains, and perhaps more focusing on flexibility and perhaps more focusing on local supply chains. Yeah, so this might be the impact that we should see, and this is the lesson learned from what has happened. Obviously, the capital markets are unstable now, so the liquidity is a problem, something that all the businesses are searching, and we should take into account that what I have said, everybody is rather fearing not only about the business perspectives, but also that the current health crisis would come back, so the potential crisis would be much sharper. Yeah. And the fifth group of issues that is something that we need to really take particular account to is the government policy and the government reactions. So this is something that was changing over the time. Obviously, some of the governments have different protocols, different responses to the health crisis. I would say that the Polish government was pretty strict, but was strict really in a speed manner. Yes, so the reaction was really good. But also I think that the lesson learned from the lockdown in Poland is that perhaps it was a bit too sharp. So even if the health crisis comes back in Poland, I think that the restrictions, the lockdown would be not as severe as it was in the last weeks. Yep. And the last factor, that is something that perhaps everybody is awaiting, so is the government reaction to the crisis. Yeah, a few of the governments are really strongly involved in helping the businesses. This is also the case in Poland. I think that the Polish government has provided really a large number of instruments that the companies might benefit from. But the name of the game is whether there would be any specific support for the car purchases. Yeah, because as the graph shows, the government support for the demand for automotive industry is something that is the huge differentiator and might be a game changer here. Because in the crisis of 2008-9, as you might remember, there have been these additional subsidies that were encouraging the individuals, the households to buy the cars, and this was something that really influenced the automotive industry. And this is something that is important for Poland. Obviously, when the Polish government would decide to do such an action in Poland, it would be a really great factor for the industry. But taking how much the Polish industry, the automotive industry, is oriented towards the exports, well, the Polish automotive industry would also benefit from any such actions from the foreign governments. Okay, but looking to the future, what we should expect on what would happen. First of all, as regards the demand, we should observe some positive factors. Yeah, obviously, the trend that we have been observing in the last years, that the demand for new cars was rather decreasing. More and more people rather decided to use the public transport, the subway. Obviously, the health crisis, the fears from infection is now changing these preferences. So the polls in different countries, but also in Poland, shows that more and more people rather, of course, prefer to travel with their own car. So this is something that we should treat as a really positive symptom on what might happen. On the other hand, of course, we should expect that the households would have less money and would rather fear on what would be the business perspective, the macroeconomic perspective going forward. So this might limit the potential purchases of new cars. But in case we are able to really introduce the consumer leasing concepts or the travel for demand concepts, this is something that should address this worry. Yeah. As regards the positive outcomes from the crisis, we should expect increasing demand for the light and medium-sized commercial vehicles. Obviously, the health crisis is resulting in real boost of e-commerce. Everybody is now buying and shopping online, so this is something that triggers the demand for the light vehicles, and this is perhaps the way to go. As regards the electromobility, what we should rather expect is that in the coming 1 to 2 to 3 years, the electromobility agenda would be not as high as it has been. First of all, I think that there would be some losing of the regulations from the governmental side. Obviously, we do have in the European Union the really restrictive carbon emission limits. So I think that here that there would be a revision of the policy, and this strict policy was something that was obviously triggering the electromobility agenda. So the next 1 to 3 years, we should rather expect some more easy policy on that. The second thing is that when the households would be suffering from rather lower funds for buying new vehicles, then obviously the electric cars that are a bit of more expensive still than the standard cars, this would rather also limit the demand for the electromobility. And the third factor is the infrastructure. Obviously, the electromobility infrastructure that has been developed in all the countries, but also in Poland in the last months and years. Obviously, we should not expect that this would be the key focus of the investment. So these three factors would rather limit the expansion of the e-mobility. Yeah. Okay, the fourth point, so the next 3 years, as I touched on that in the first slide, there should be some revision of the supply chains, more oriented on flexibility, on local sales. We should also expect a further boost of the sales online concepts rather than the standard ways of buying the cars through the dealers. And also we should expect consolidation, both the horizontal and the vertical. So we should expect some moves as regards acquisition trajectory from the businesses that still have money and relatively perform better than the others in the coming months and years. And in the 3 to 5 years time, I think that these trends that are seen or perceived in the 1 to 3 years would still continue, would still follow, with one key change as regards the e-mobility agenda. Of course, we should expect that when everything settles down, then the e-mobility would once again be put really high on the agenda. So both from the perspective of consumers, that they would rather come back to the preferences that have been seen in the last months and years, and also from the perspective of the government, investment in the e-mobility infrastructure might be treated, might be perceived as something that would boost the economy. So definitely this slight decline of the e-mobility agenda in the next 3 years would strike back after the 3 years. So this would come back. Okay. And just shortly, I would perhaps not discuss all the points, just to give also time for other presenters. This is just a list of key actions that we need to follow in 3 dimensions, yes, so now, but also for the next months and certainly for the next years, because this is the time when we should look through the strategy, how to position ourselves towards the crisis and what it has brought. I would say that the key point is that we should really reflect on how we should be better resilient for the situations that might come back as regards the lockdown, as regards on what we are facing now. But we should also really look through the potential that this crisis brings. So the potential for development, the potential for seeking new ways of providing our business. This is something that we should really focus on. Yep. Okay. So I think that that's all from my side, and I would give the voice to the next presenter.
Thank you, Michał. So now we'll have Piotr Wojciechowski. He's Managing Director of Bydgoszcz Industrial Cluster, representing the molding and plastics processing industry in Poland. And he will present Polish molding and plastic injection industry in Poland. Please, Piotr, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Pedro. Thank you very much for your invitation. Hello, everyone. I can't see my presentation. What about my presentation?
Can you put the next presentation, please?
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you. It's okay. So I would like to give you some information about molding and plastic injection sector in Poland. But at the beginning, short information about Bydgoszcz. Bydgoszcz is located in the central north part of Poland. It's the biggest city in our region. More than 350,000 citizens. And what's important, the production age is, I think, very positive, because more than 60% of citizens are in production age. Some information about transport, railway and road infrastructure. So it's easy, maybe Bydgoszcz it's not easy to pronounce, but it's easy to go and to reach. So expressway, it's S5 is under construction, but I think that it will be ready to the end of this year. And motorway A1 is nearly 40 kilometers from Bydgoszcz. And what is important, we have our airport with connection with Frankfurt and Warsaw. So I think it's the most important for business. Of course, for now, the airport is closed, but I think it will be open in some weeks or months. Some basic data about molding sector and plastic sector in Poland. As you can see, number of companies in the plastic sectors is about 140,000. In molding sector, it's nearly 1,000 companies. Number of employees in Poland, it's approximately 160,000. And number of molding sector, about 15,000 employees. About segmentation of the plastic consumption market in Poland, I think that it's on the same level like in general in Europe. The most important is packaging, next one is construction, automotive, and many, many others. Bydgoszcz Industrial Cluster was established in 2006. We are focused on two sectors. From the one hand is molding, and from the other is plastics. We are operating in all Poland. For now, we are one of the key national clusters. I don't know if in Portugal are national clusters, but we are one of them in Poland. For now, we gather more than 150 companies, members, nearly 100 companies from all Poland. All of them are connected with molding and plastic sectors. As Pedro said at the beginning, Bydgoszcz and our region is the centrum of tool makers, and so our region is called by Tool Valley. In Kujawsko-Pomorskie, it's more or less 1,000 companies concerns plastics and molding. Our main specialization in our cluster, of course, the most important for us for today is molding tools for different sectors, of course, for automotive, packaging, medical equipment, household, and many, many others sectors. Of course, we gather plastic processors and what is the most important in the last time, companies connected with recycling. Here you can see our value chain, which we have in our cluster with more details. At the beginning are tool makers with suppliers with different things and different devices which are needed to prepare tools. Next one are processors, and at the end of the value chain are, of course, recyclers. Our member, I think that it's the same situation like in Portugal. It means experienced staff, technical staffs, many years of experience, high quality and modern machinery park in our companies. Shortly, I would like to present our trade fair in Bydgoszcz. There are only one trade show dedicated to molding. I don't know if you know about this trade fair, but it's focused only on molding. So I think it will be a good place to contact with other molding companies in Poland and in all Europe. The last edition took place 2 months ago at the beginning of the March, but it was the last trade fair connected with industry in Poland, maybe in all Europe, because all other trade fairs are closed or was closed. So I think that the next edition we are planning at the beginning of March next year. I think it will be possible. Some examples of problems in our companies, of course, decreased number of orders. As we all see in our companies, it was between 20 and 70% of course, the biggest problem for now are with automotive sector, but not only. Problems with payments gridlock and financial liquidity. Companies lockdown customers, OEMs, mainly automotive, but as Rafał said, some of companies are reopened, so I think that it will be better in next month. Problems with suppliers because supply chain breaks. I think that it is a good occasion maybe for Europe because we have problems with suppliers from China, and maybe we can cooperate in this. We should cooperate maybe in this field. And as Pedro said, our government prepared some support program for companies, but it's not so easy to reach the help from the government. So it's our local problem. I think that problems are similar in Portugal and Poland, and maybe some of them we can solve together, and it's a good way to cooperation. Fields to cooperation. Maybe we start with cooperation between clusters. We had contact with Poolnet from Marinha Grande. I don't know if someone is start with common cluster projects, maybe molding sector promotion outside EU. It could be a good way to cooperation to prepare some things in Europe, not only in China. We can cooperate in the field of European Green Deal field as European Commission, prepares some different regulation connected with green fields, so green deals. So I think it's a field to cooperation. Maybe common companies project in R&D field, for example, and cooperation in education. We have in Bydgoszcz dual studies, plastics processing. Maybe it's a good field to start with cooperation between Poland and Portugal. So that is the last slide. Yes, so let's cooperate. I think that we have a great opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Piotr. And now we will have Michał Mazurkiewicz, and is injection molding specialist since many years at the Polish company Syropol. He will present the impact of COVID-19 on the molding and plastic industry in his own company Syropol and in Poland. Okay, thank you. The stage is yours, Michał.
Okay, hello to all. Thank you, Pedro, for invitation and my presentation. So my name is Michał Mazurkiewicz from Syropol company. I'm responsible for the injection process technology in our company. First, I will try to introduce our company in few words. So Syropol is a part of Syro Group. The group consists of 3 companies, one located in Germany, also in Hungary and in Poland. And we are manufacturing the plastic parts from clients from various industries around the world. But I can say that our specialty is the automotive company and automotive industry. Our company offers a full service, maybe I show here, full service for our customers from the project development through the mold making process. We make molds for our group, for 3 companies, up to production of the products and measurements and so on. I need to go back a little. As you can see here, the Syropol has been growing all the time since recent years, up to last year. And what's interesting, I've even been in January this year in Portugal at the invitation of the CEFAMOL, because we planned to start some cooperation with Portugal mold suppliers because of our new projects, new investments in our company. But unfortunately, after my visit in Portugal in January, the situation associated with the COVID-19 pandemic starts to becoming worse, and we all know what happens in February and March and so on. But still, we are hoping that the situation is maybe after a few months is getting better. So about the situation in our company, that we have seen a significant decline of orders of plastic parts in our production site. Many customers canceled the orders for this month, and our production is currently working, I can say, on approximately 50% of the capacity. But what's good, we are still working. There was no lockdown in our company. We only have to respect some new rules of the security rules, and what's really important for us is the safety of our workers, and some of them can work from home office, but the essentially workers of the production have to be here on the site, and they are still working. What's interestingly for our business is that after the bad situation in the mold industry at the beginning of the whole situation, because we lost a few contracts in February and in March, but now we started to notice an increase of requests of the new molds on the market. And what is for us really surprising, that new clients came to us and sent a request, and maybe it is connected with the customers who previously ordered tools in other markets, maybe in China, and now they want to use our market in Poland or in Europe, maybe also in Portugal. And we see an opportunity here for the next month, but it's also really difficult because now we must be really careful to not invest too much in the new projects, and just to maintain financial liquidity, because the most important thing for us is to secure the job for our employees and our company. And what will happen in next few months, I don't know, but I hope it gets better, and we can return to the good path of increasing the business, and maybe to continue to cooperate with some companies in Portugal, because after my visit there, I've seen many mold making companies, and it's really good companies. I think everything is on a good track there, and I hope everything's came back to the right way. Yeah. So thank you, and this is all of my presentation.
Thank you very
much.
Michal.
Now we have the Q&A. Thank you. I will say some words in Portuguese because everybody is invited to ask questions. So eu convido todos aqueles que estão presentes a poderem fazer e apresentar as vossas questões. Eu vou avançar já com algumas. I will start myself with some questions. Everybody mentioned China and this trend that you identified that there is a trend to coming back to Europe as a supplier. Do you feel this trend already, or is just a feeling? Is you feel it or not? That's basically the question. I don't know who wants to answer. Rafael? This is very important for Portugal, of course, the Portuguese suppliers.
I think it's too early to talk about the company looking for the new suppliers, the new tool shops in Europe. I think when the production in the second part of this year will be on some stabilized level, maybe some tier 1 suppliers decided to move some production from the China, Taiwan, and Japan. I don't know now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for now we are all talking about this. Yes, so I think that it's, as Rafał said, it's too early. But in our sector, we saw that something changed even before COVID-19. So more and more companies from Europe are looking for new molding companies in Europe, not only in China. So,
okay.
But I think that
this is a situation that is just confirming a previous trend. Okay. Michal, what's your view about it?
Yes, as I say, I think maybe it's temporary. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's too early maybe to say this, but in our company we've seen that there are new requests for new projects, a complete request with molds and then production. And before it is like the big companies came to us, for example, with ready molds just for production, and the molds were from China or somewhere else. But now the requests are complex, like make the mold and then make production of these molds. It's not a project for now. When we are making molds, the project can start in next year or at the beginning of next year or in the middle of next year even. Yeah, but I think it's a trend now. But maybe it's temporary. I hope not. We can see.
Okay, Mr. Lesiuk, do you have something to add to this question about this transfer to Europe of supply chain? We cannot hear you, sorry. We cannot hear you. Hello? We cannot hear you, sorry. Well, maybe we can go back to someone else. A question about practical advice. I think that Mr. Wojciechowski, Piotr, what practical advice can you give in these days to Portuguese mold selling companies who want to approach the Polish market? Piotr, pronunciation is still bad.
It's not easy to answer, as I think that the better way is to come to Poland and talk with, I don't know, maybe with clusters and with companies and looking for new clients. Maybe to go to trade fair. I think that Innoform for molding industry is very good possibilities. Yes, so I think that I know what is not good advice to send emails and something like that, because I received hundreds of emails from Chinese, and it's not good way to find new clients. Yes, I think that it's not.
So what's the best approach?
I think that the best. Sorry.
Don't send any emails.
I think that the best way is to come to Poland and from trade fair, for example, yes, and meet with companies directly and something like this. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Orlovsky, a question for you: what changes are taking place in Poland in the automotive supply chain?
This is very similar to the first question. In supply chain, no, I think only that the global change, that the consolidation of the companies like the Delphi with the Borg-Warner, Tenneco and Federal Mogul, that the Polish automotive industry in most part is the element of the global automotive industry. So what it happened in Germany and the USA will be also happen in Poland.
Okay. We have a question for Mr. Mazukiersi. You stated that payment terms for the automotive industry is very difficult to support for most of small, medium-sized companies. Which are usually the payment terms of Tier 1 and Tier 2 companies at mold markets?
Yes, I think that's. I want to talk about it because that's a problem for us. Because when we get even a big request for a molds, we need to invest money at the beginning because we need to buy material, we need to make projects of the mold, the documentation, and we need to have the money to start the project. And some of the companies, our customers, have the payment terms is, for example, 30% at the beginning of the project, then 30% after the first parts from the mold, and then the last part after the start of the production and when everything is okay with the part. So at the beginning we need to, I can say, credit these big companies, yeah. And for us, as I say, it's not good today to take every project we have requests on, but we need to really be careful what we can do and how much money can we invest in the new projects. So I think that's the point of this.
Yeah, it was very clear. Mr. Orlovsky, are there any niche markets where opportunities for Portuguese companies may appear?
Could you repeat?
If you consider that there are any niche markets where opportunities for Portuguese companies may appear in Poland. Maybe it's too complex or too difficult to answer right now.
Sorry, I have no idea now.
No, okay.
We have some Portugal investors in Poland in automotive industry, microplastic or so. That companies produce some elements for the cars from the plastic, but I have no answer.
Okay. And this is a question for, I think, everybody. What is the image the Portuguese mold industry have in in the Polish market? Good, the image of the Portuguese producers in Poland.
As far as I know, the image is very good.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And more comments? No.
Yes, for me, it's also good. The image is good, but after, as I say, after my visit in Portugal, it's even better. And I must say that after the visit, I have here in Bydgoszcz, in our company, I have an internal presentation of the companies, and I've showed some pictures of the companies and the whole business there, and all the my colleagues from work and are impressed, about this.
Oh, so definitely you should come at least.
Yes, as I said,
know each other more.
We've planned.
That's the main point.
We've planned to cooperate, but unfortunately, I'm hoping that I came to Portugal in the summer for some trails or something.
But for business, I guess.
Yes, for business.
Okay. Well, another question.
Can I add something? I would like to add something. In my opinion, and our company's the image it's very good, as I said. And I was in Marinha Grande in some years ago in Portugal, and I think that we as a cluster and as a companies could learn a lot from Portugal, Portuguese tooling sector. So I think that I saw the huge R&D center in Marinha Grande concerns to molding sector, and for me it was very, very good.
Okay. Another question. What do you? Sorry, I'm here managing the questions. Is the price extremely relevant to the purchase decision, or the provision of a solution is most valued right now? What's your opinion on that? Price or quality?
Maybe I start. So for us, for our company, it's always about the quality, because we are working with automotive industry. We're using very difficult plastics materials, and the mold, as we say, is the core of the whole process, and it must be really good, and the quality of the mold must be good to make a stable process and stable production, and this is really important for us. The price must be also good, but it's not.
First of all, quality.
First of all, it's quality.
Yeah. We have a question. Which kind of tool makers does the Polish market need? It's all of you. The questions are always. I would invite.
I think in Poland operate about 900 companies. The tool shops, supplies of the parts from the plastic castings, and so that company have the many clients and many reference. So it is the place for the all kind of the tool makers.
Okay. Well, now the barriers. What are the main barriers you use to deal with when you are working with a Portuguese toolmaker company? Communication, I don't know, prices, jet lag, or whatever. What kind of difficulties do we have, or barriers? None. No barriers whatsoever. That's good. Okay. And we will have also some questions. I would like to add, well, this is more to EY, but we lost our friend. I don't know where he is. I think he's just disconnected. But do you feel, or do you agree with this statement that the electromobility will be blocked by this crisis somehow? Because it was something that Mr. This guy from EY said to us that the electromobility should be blocked by this crisis. Do you agree with that?
We have any information about the impact, as I said, in the investment in the electromobility in Poland, in the investment like the LGM plant of the battery? I afraid it's too
early.
Too early.
Too early to say. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Some other questions. Of the molds, I think this is for you, Pedro. Of the molds running in Poland, what percentage is built in Portugal? Is there any intention to increase? This is the second question.
Portugal has 4% market share.
Okay.
And exports 13 million euros per year of molds to Poland. And I believe that with the present situation, and like it was already told here today, before this crisis, there was already a trend of coming back to Europe from Far East to look more for suppliers in Europe. Mm-hmm. And I believe that with the present situation, people are not willing so much to travel to Far East, and Poland buys a lot in countries like China, Taiwan, and Japan. So I believe there will be more opportunities for European mold producers to supply European customers, I think. And in general, in all the industries, I think this will be a new trend.
Yeah, it's a general trend. Yeah. Okay. Another question. I think it's for each and every one of you. As for the mold customers, for other mold customers besides the automobile, which ones have the best growth prospects in Poland? Besides the automobile? None.
Eduardo, I think Poland produces a lot of electronic appliances. What in Portugal we say electrodoméstico. And in this field, they are very big producers in Poland, and I think there are also opportunities here in this field. Yes.
Okay.
Myself, I visited companies in Poland that are injecting electric appliances with Portuguese molds, big one, that manufacture for international labels, yes. Coffee machines and things like that.
And I would like to add packaging sector, yes. So I think that it's a great opportunity.
Yes, but if I can say something, it's changing so quickly that I remember that at the end of last year, everyone is talking about the packaging sector and the whole regulation from European Union that banned some of the plastic packaging and the plastic forks and I don't know the other stuff to eat some or packaging. And right now, due to the virus and the whole plastic packaging and the things that we use once and then throw it back to garbage it's now popular again. So it's changing a lot, but and the automotive industry is going down, and the other industries are going a little bit up. So we have to be.
There is the opportunity there.
Yeah, we have to be really flexible on the market.
Okay, perfect. And just the final question, can you elaborate on the pressure from political decisions to push e-mobility versus the supply chain of the motor vehicles in Europe? This is a broader question. I think that we already answered, but if you want to add something more. Rafael?
I try to find the answer. In my opinion, that the problem is the scale of the impact in COVID-19 in all sectors in Europe. So I can see any political decision to push in higher level of the electromobility in next month or next year. Now for the automotive industry is the biggest problem to how much cars the clients will order in the second part of the year. Nobody knows.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it all depends on that. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I think we are wrapping up now. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. Your presentations will be shared with our guests and our participants. And if there are any more questions, please, you can send us directly to our office in Warsaw, or directly also, I think, to each and one and every one of our guests of today. So thank you very much to you all, and I will change to Portuguese. Eu só queria acabar por, mais uma vez, colocar-nos à vossa disposição para as perguntas que tiverem. O nosso escritório em Varsóvia está ao vosso dispor. Também os nossos convidados podem responder às vossas questões ou podem entrar em contato com eles. Nós podemos disponibilizar o contacto. E todas as questões que tiverem podem colocá-las também através dos vossos gestores de cliente. Basicamente, se estiverem atentos às próximas sessões, agradeço muito que possam estar, porque vamos continuar a organizar mais um conjunto muito vasto de webinars sobre as mais variadas áreas e sobre os mais variados mercados. Muito obrigado. Até à próxima. Bom dia.